Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. The Real Rant Reviewer welcomes you, your best friend, your only friend. No, it's not. You have plenty of friends besides me, but guys, Mel Gibson here doesn't. He thought he did, he didn't. Guys, Ransom, 1996 is Ransom, I believe. Directed by Ron Howard, starring Mel Gibson, Rene Russo, and Gary Sinise. Guys, I saw this back. My dad rented it. After it came out in theaters, of course, they released it on VHS a couple months later. So at least 6 months later or whatever, and my dad just came home with it, and he was like, "Yo, we put it in, and it was this Mel Gibson movie, and Mel is, guys, spoilers ahead. You gotta watch this movie. Please see it beforehand. But what the fuck? I was just blown away. Ron Howard, amazing directing, amazing story, amazing acting, and the twist in this fucking movie. No one has ever done it like this that I've known or I've seen before or since. So let's go. And you believe it when it comes from Mel. You believe it when it comes from Mr. Gibson. So you just start out meeting Mel Gibson and his family. He has Rene Russo as his wife, and he has a nice young son. And he's rich, guys. He owns like the biggest like air fleet of airplanes or some shit in the world. He's fucking rich. You see his penthouse. He lives in New York. You see here he's going up to his PH, which is the penthouse. So he has a great life, and he's a great son. And anyways, so he goes the next day. You see that they're throwing a fundraiser like they do for the community, and they throw the fundraiser. Their son's there. Their son wanders off just a little bit, guys, and he is snatched because this is planned out. See, so his son is snatched very sneakily and quickly, right underneath Mr. Gibson's nose. Um, so they look for him. They can't find him. He's gone. He's gone. Shortly after that, they return home and they do receive an email which contains a ransom. Yes, it is a virtual ransom. It shows their son tied up, and it demands money from Mr. Gibson. So they're told not to inform the authorities. They fight over this, Mr. Russo and Gibson. Man, this is some shit here. The battle between husband and wife on what to do about their child here in this situation. What a dynamic, guys, it brings to the movie. Is that Marlon Wayans in the background? I do not know. But let's go. So, and there's Whoopi. So anyways, let's go to the rest of this. So shit. They get this ransom. They're told not to contact the FBI, but they do. They do contact the FBI. This man has connections. And of course, whoever planned this kidnapping is smart. So what they do is they call the FBI. The FBI comes in and all this shit. They advise Mr. Gibson to pay the money. So that's the deal. They're going to pay the money. But guys, let me inform you, what you're seeing too during this, after the kidnapping, is a cop by the name of Gary, we'll call him Gary Sinise, and he's doing his job. You see him, they follow him, you see him go home or to an apartment and guess where he's going? He's going into the house of the kidnappers here, where they have Mr. Gibson's son hostage, but he's not to take them down. He is a part of this equation. He is the mastermind behind the kidnapping of Mr. Gibson's son, a police officer, Mr. Gary Sinise. He's running the show with a bunch of criminals here. So, guys, Liv Schreiber's in this, Donnie Wahlberg as well, and Lily Taylor. So it's fucking awesome. And, they're brothers and shit, the Wahlberg and Schreiber. So it's really cool. And Sinise, you just buy him as this villain, dude. Like, smart, conniving fuck, and only cares about his money. You know it. He doesn't even care about his chick, and you know it. So anyways, now you know who's got his son. It's terrible now, isn't it? So they tell Mr. Gibson to drop the money at a certain point to set up set up the drop point, right, for the exchange. So they get their child back, and then the words Mr. Sinise uses here is, and the whole time the child can hear Mr. Sinise. So, it shouldn't be a problem. He's telling Mr. Gibson the money shouldn't be a problem. 10 million, 20 million, whatever, $1,000, it shouldn't be a problem for him. So Mr. Gibson obliges and says yes, and then Mr. Gibson tells the FBI, no, I am going to do the drop, not no fake stuntman, me. So they send Mr. Donnie Wahlberg out to collect the money from Mr. Gibson at the drop point. As they meet up, Mr. Gibson and Mr. Wahlberg. Gibson tells him, Mr. Wahlberg, give him the address. Mr. Wahlberg doesn't understand what the fuck he's talking about. So Mr. Wahlberg snatches the money, hits off on the ATV with Mr. Gibson in hot pursuit and also a helicopter in hot pursuit. Bam! The police show up and break this whole thing open. They weren't supposed to show up. Gibson's pissed about this. And Wahlberg does not get away. He is shot by cops, and he's killed before he can say anything. Then you meet Mel Gibson, of course, that elevator going back to his penthouse to the cops, the FBI. He's very pissed because they botched the whole drop. He punches one of them, which is a great actor. Forget his name. He's awesome. A lot of movies, character actor. Props to him. They calm Mr. Gibson down. The talk is just amazing. But Mr. Gibson at this point knows that he has a feeling since what the man told him at this drop scene that this is just he's never going to see his son. Money, no money, it doesn't matter. He knows how this is going to end. It's going to end badly for him and his son unless he does something different, out of the box, out of the normal. And here's Ron Howard, baby, breaking it out. So Mr. Gibson, what he does is Mr. Sinise calls, and he's very pissed. Mr. Sinise, of course, and Gibson hangs up on him multiple times. Mr. Gibson starts taking control of the situation. Now, Mr. Sinise, this pisses Mr. Sinise off so badly. And then what Mr. Gibson tells him is, listen, watch the news. And then so he tells him, and he's fucking so angry, Mr. Sinise. So Mr. Sinise goes to somewhere to watch the news. Everybody's watching the fucking news. And what Mr. Gibson does is something in a first ever in cinema or in a hostage situation. He goes on the news and puts a bounty on the kidnappers' heads, basically saying, I will pay this money, this ransom money, not to the ransomers who kidnapped my son, but to anyone who brings me the head or the toes of the head, or captures these ransomer, who kills them. A bounty is placed on that kidnappers' heads, man. What a fucking play. What a move. It's just, his wife is just distraught beyond belief because she paid the money. She's telling him, pay the money. And wow, man, he holds to his guns. Mr. Gibson holds. And he holds so good that Mr. Sinise doesn't see a way out. The way out Mr. Sinise sees now is to just be a hero. Be a hero. That's the only way he's getting his fucking money now. Oh, man, this is crazy. It's so crazy how Gibson and Sinise never meet until the end, and they have this eye-to-eye connection, guys. This cat and mouse of fair play. Sinise gets out of the fucking where he was. He goes right into where the kidnappers are, his so-called homies, because they're getting the fuck out of Dodge after hearing the news. And man, he kills them both. He kills everybody that's left. He kills everyone, even his own chick. His own chick he domes her, man. He kills her. She's able to get a shot off on him, but just wound him. But he kills her. And so no one's there to tell this real story but Mr. Sinise. He's the only one left alive. He crawls to the child. The police come rush in, and they find Mr. Sinise saved the child. And he's a hero. Mr. Sinise is a hero. Mr. Gibson receives his son back. And so does Mrs. Russo here, and they're very fucking happy. They're so happy, in fact, that they want to thank Mr. Sinise, of course, and live up to his word, Mr. Gibson. So Mr. Gibson invites me, or not even invite him. Mr. Sinise just shows up, guys. He just fucking shows up. And he's like, hey, what about that reward money, So, he doesn't mention he killed a lot of people for it. But he sits down with Mr. Gibson, as Mr. Gibson's writing the check for the reward money very nicely and kindly. Mr. Gibson's having a normal conversation with him. And as he has the conversation, his son kind of hears the voice, and you can see his son. I have a picture up just before. The son briefly looks in, and because he recognizes that voice, and Gary Sinise happens to say, that shouldn't be a problem, as Mr. Gibson's asking him a question, and that phrase and just the voice alone, especially the phrase that shouldn't be a problem, triggers the son. He now knows that is the kidnapper. He literally leaks himself, guys, right there in front of Mr. Gibson. As soon as Gibson sees this leakage from the boy, he knows. Mr. Gibson's not stupid. He knows. I fucking love it. And so does Sinise, though, guys. So he tries to walk Mr. Sinise out, but Mr. Sinise ain't having it. He fucking stupid. And Mr. Sinise pulls the gun on Mr. Gibson and says, you fucking think I'm stupid. I knew you, fucker. You're gonna call the cops on me before I cash this shit? He's like, you're coming with me to the bank. You'll pull this fucking money out, and then I'm gone. And then, you know what I mean? Oh, man. Sinise has a person. This is so fucking personal now, man. This has gotten so personal for both. It already was for Gibson. Fuck you, Sinise. So anyway, Sinise takes Mr. Gibson to the bank by force, by gunpoint. At some point in the bank, they're able to struggle or get tipped off or something like that. And Sinise is basically shot dead in the street there by Mr. Gibson and the other cop. And that's the end of the movie after Mr. Sinise is killed. I do like the ending because it just gives you that satisfaction that Mr. Sinise is dead and his plan didn't work and shit. And, he was pissed that he had to kill his girlfriend here, Lily Taylor, man. He was really pissed about that in the elevator. He tells Mr. Gibson that, gives him a shot to the groin by knee for it. But, guys, Ransom leaves you really, really look at this. Look on Mel, man, such a young Mel, such a great fucking movie. You know what? I'm gonna go watch this movie right after I fucking shut this off. How about that, guys? The Real Rant Reviewer is gonna do that just to tell you how much of a good fucking movie this is. 1996 Ransom. When I saw it as a little kid, loved this shit. Love it to this day. Great thriller, great mystery film. Put it on for a honey. Put it on for a bunny. Put it on for a dude. Put it on for your man. Put it on for anyone, a person. They're gonna love this movie. All right, guys. Thanks for listening.